Chosen one, something major will happen inside your house tonight. There are moments when a phrase like "something major will happen inside your house tonight" sounds dramatic, even mysterious. But the deeper meaning is not about walls moving, objects appearing, or external spectacle. It is about what happens in the space where you live, rest, think, and reset, the environment that mirrors your inner world more than any other place. Your home is where your nervous system drops its guard, where habits reveal themselves, where patterns quietly repeat or quietly transform. When something major is said to happen there, it points to an internal shift, becoming noticeable in ordinary life, not a supernatural event designed to shock or frighten you. Change that truly matters often shows up in subtle but meaningful ways. Clarity replacing confusion. Calm replacing tension. Intention replacing drift. Stay with this message until the very end, because each layer builds on the one before it, and understanding deepens as you move through it. And write your warmest wishes in the comments, and include the number 144 as a conscious act of intention and energetic focus. This moment reflects a chapter where attention shapes momentum, where inner awareness strengthens direction, and where what you hold in mind begins to influence how you experience your everyday environment. This is the only place where wishes are mentioned, because from here forward, the focus shifts fully to awareness, responsibility, and grounded change. Now, chosen one, press the hype button like this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's start. What happens inside a home often reflects what has been happening inside a person for much longer. Stress shows up in clutter, rushed routines, shallow rest, and constant background noise. Stability shows up in order, calmer pacing, clearer decisions, and better recovery from daily pressure. When something major begins to happen internally, you may notice it first in how your body relaxes when you sit down, how your thoughts slow instead of racing, how your breathing deepens without effort. These signals matter. They indicate that your nervous system is beginning to reorganize. A meaningful shift does not require drama to be powerful. It often arrives as a quiet moment of recognition, realizing that a habit no longer controls you, noticing that a conversation does not trigger the same reaction it once did, feeling more grounded in your own space than you have in a long time. These changes are not random. They reflect accumulated alignment, finally integrating. Your home is where patterns reveal themselves most honestly. It is where you scroll, rest, eat, think, plan, and decompress. If clarity begins to stabilize internally, it naturally expresses itself in how you use this space. You may clean without forcing it. You may reorganize without stress. You may sit in stillness without discomfort. These behaviors are not cosmetic. They reflect a nervous system that feels safer and more regulated. Sometimes what changes first is your relationship with time inside your home. Evenings feel less rushed. Mornings feel less heavy. You stop carrying unresolved mental loops into every room. The atmosphere feels lighter, not because anything external changed dramatically, but because your internal state shifted. Another sign of meaningful internal change is improved presence. You are more aware of what you are doing instead of constantly multitasking mentally. You taste food more fully. You hear sounds more clearly. You notice light, quiet, and comfort. Presence stabilizes the nervous system and increases satisfaction without needing stimulation. You may also notice a reduction in mental noise. Thoughts that once looped endlessly lose intensity. Worry softens. Anticipation becomes calmer. This creates space for clarity, creativity, and reflection. The mind becomes a tool rather than a source of tension. A major internal shift can also show up as emotional release. You may feel relief, gratitude, or a gentle emotional wave without a dramatic cause. This is often the nervous system letting go of stored tension. It is not weakness, it is integration. Your home environment often mirrors self-respect. When self-respect grows, you naturally care for your space differently. You choose order over chaos, not out of control, but out of comfort. You create environments that support rest, focus, and calm. Another change may be improved boundaries around your personal space. You become more selective about what energy you bring into your home through screens, conversations, or habits. This selectivity protects clarity and preserves emotional balance. You may also notice that your internal dialogue softens when you are at home. Less self-criticism, less pressure, more grounded realism. This internal kindness stabilizes emotional health and supports better decision-making. A meaningful shift often brings a renewed sense of ownership over your environment and your routines. You feel more responsible for how you spend your evenings, how you prepare for the next day, how you rest. This responsibility does not feel heavy. It feels empowering. Another sign is improved sleep quality or restfulness. When the nervous system begins to feel safer, the body relaxes more easily. Recovery improves. Energy stabilizes. These physiological changes influence mood, focus, and resilience. You may also notice that your reactions to small frustrations at home soften. Minor inconveniences no longer trigger irritation as easily. This emotional regulation is a sign of internal coherence increasing. As clarity stabilizes, you may feel motivated to simplify. Fewer distractions, fewer unnecessary commitments, cleaner routines. Simplification reduces background stress and increases focus. You may also experience moments of insight or problem-solving clarity while doing ordinary things at home. When the mind is no longer in survival mode, it becomes creative and adaptive. Ideas surface naturally. Another quiet shift is how you experience silence. Silence no longer feels empty or uncomfortable. It feels grounding. This indicates nervous system regulation improving. Your home becomes less of a place to escape from stress and more of a place that supports regulation and recovery. This changes how you move into the next day, how you engage with responsibilities, and how you manage pressure. Sometimes a major internal change is simply realizing that you feel safer inside yourself than you did before. That safety changes how you think, choose, and relate to others. It reduces impulsivity and increases patience. You may also notice that your sense of control relaxes. You stop trying to manage everything perfectly. You trust your systems and routines more. This reduces anxiety and conserves energy. Another development is improved emotional clarity. You can name what you feel without being overwhelmed by it. You respond instead of react. This improves communication and relationships. You may also find yourself more grateful for ordinary comfort. Warmth, quiet, light, space, rest. Gratitude stabilizes mood and reinforces safety. A meaningful internal shift does not need external confirmation to be valid. You feel it in your body, your pacing, your thoughts, and your choices. This is why it often begins at home, the place where you are most yourself. You are not waiting for something to happen to you. You are noticing something already happening within you. That awareness itself is part of the change. As this first part settles, understand this. When something major begins to shift internally, it often shows up first in ordinary environments, your home, your routines, your quiet moments. The change may feel subtle, but its impact compounds steadily. What begins as calm, clarity, and presence becomes stability, better decisions, and healthier patterns over time. This is how real transformation unfolds, not through spectacle, but through steady internal alignment, becoming visible in everyday life. As this internal shift continues to integrate, you may begin to notice that your relationship with your environment becomes more intentional rather than automatic. You are not just moving through rooms on habit alone. You are aware of how lighting affects your mood, how sound influences your focus, how order or clutter impacts your nervous system. This awareness allows you to make small adjustments that create noticeable comfort and clarity. These changes may seem simple, but they compound into a sense of stability that supports better thinking, better rest, and better emotional regulation. You may also notice that your body responds differently inside your space. Shoulders relax more easily. Breathing becomes slower without effort. Your posture softens instead of staying guarded. These physical signals matter. They indicate that your nervous system is learning to feel safe without constant vigilance. Safety in the body improves sleep quality, digestion, concentration, and emotional balance. This is a foundational shift that influences every area of life. Another meaningful change may appear in how you use quiet moments. Instead of immediately reaching for distraction, you may feel more comfortable sitting with silence or stillness. This is not boredom. It is integration. When the mind is no longer overloaded with unresolved stress, it naturally settles into reflection and calm. From this calm, clarity often emerges. You may also find that your thoughts become more organized. Instead of scattered mental loops, you experience clearer sequences of thinking. You can finish one thought before moving to the next. This mental order reduces anxiety and improves decision-making. It also increases your sense of competence and control without forcing anything. As internal steadiness grows, your emotional reactions inside your home may soften. Minor inconveniences no longer feel as disruptive. You recover faster from frustration. You respond more thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This emotional regulation is a strong indicator that your nervous system is stabilizing. Another subtle shift may be how you relate to your routines. Routines stop feeling restrictive or boring. They begin to feel supportive. Simple actions like preparing a meal, organizing a space, or winding down for rest become grounding rather than draining. These rhythms create predictability, and predictability strengthens safety in the nervous system. You may also notice that your sense of ownership over your time increases. Evenings feel more intentional. You are less likely to lose hours unconsciously scrolling or overstimulating yourself. You choose how you decompress rather than escaping automatically. This conscious choice protects energy and supports clarity. Your relationship with your personal space may deepen as well. You begin treating it as something that supports your well-being rather than something you simply tolerate. You create small comforts, remove unnecessary clutter, and protect the emotional tone of your environment. This care reinforces self-respect. Another development is improved awareness of how external input affects you. You become more selective about what you watch, listen to, and consume mentally while at home. Loud or chaotic input may feel draining rather than entertaining. You gravitate toward calmer, more nourishing input. This selectivity protects emotional balance. You may also experience moments of emotional release without a dramatic trigger. A sense of relief, lightness, or gratitude may appear spontaneously. This often reflects stored tension leaving the system. It is part of nervous system recalibration. As clarity grows, you may notice that small decisions become easier. You waste less energy debating minor choices. You trust your preferences more. This reduces mental fatigue and preserves focus for what truly matters. Another sign of integration is how you prepare for the next day. You may naturally organize tasks, set out items, or mentally clarify priorities. This preparation reduces morning stress and creates a smoother transition into activity. Small organization habits create large stability over time. You may also find that your attention becomes more anchored in the present moment. Instead of constantly replaying past concerns or anticipating future problems, you engage more fully with what is happening now. Presence improves satisfaction and reduces anxiety. Your relationship with comfort may also mature. You recognize the difference between genuine restoration and numbing behavior. You choose rest that actually restores your energy rather than habits that simply distract. This distinction improves recovery and long-term resilience. Another shift may be a renewed sense of gratitude for ordinary stability. Warmth, shelter, quiet, light, and rest may feel more noticeable and meaningful. Gratitude strengthens emotional balance and reinforces a sense of safety. You may also notice improved communication with those you live with or interact with at home. You speak more calmly. You listen more attentively. Tension resolves more easily. This improves relational stability and emotional comfort within the space. As your internal state becomes more organized, you may naturally simplify your environment. Fewer unnecessary items, clearer spaces, reduced visual noise. Simplification reduces cognitive load and increases clarity. Another subtle development is increased awareness of your own needs. You notice when you are tired, overstimulated, or hungry sooner. You respond to these signals more responsibly. This self-attunement prevents depletion and supports balance. You may also notice that creative ideas surface more often while you are relaxed at home. When the nervous system is not in survival mode, the mind becomes curious and adaptive. Insight appears naturally during ordinary activities. Your sense of safety inside your own space continues to deepen. You no longer carry the same level of background vigilance. This allows deeper rest and more efficient recovery. You may also feel more grounded in your body. Movements feel less rushed. Gestures become smoother. Your physical pacing slows slightly, which signals calm to the nervous system and reinforces stability. Another important change is reduced mental clutter. Fewer unfinished loops, less compulsive checking, more internal quiet. This mental clarity improves focus and emotional regulation. As this second part settles, understand that meaningful internal change often expresses itself first in ordinary environments and daily rhythms. What feels subtle on the surface is actually reorganizing how your nervous system, attention, and behavior function together. These quiet shifts create the foundation for stronger decisions, healthier habits, and more sustainable growth moving forward. As this integration deepens further, you may begin to notice a shift in how you relate to your inner space, not just your physical home. Thoughts feel less crowded. Emotional reactions feel less tangled. You are able to observe what arises inside you without immediately needing to fix, judge, or escape it. This ability to witness your own inner activity calmly is a strong sign of nervous system maturity. It creates space between impulse and action, which gives you freedom rather than reactivity. You may also notice that your sense of personal rhythm becomes clearer. You recognize when your body needs movement, when it needs rest, when it needs quiet, and when it is ready for engagement. Instead of overriding these signals out of habit or pressure, you begin responding to them with respect. This attunement improves energy management and reduces unnecessary fatigue. Another subtle development is how you experience transitions inside your home. Moving from work to rest, from stimulation to quiet, from activity to sleep becomes smoother. You no longer carry the same emotional residue from one phase of the day into the next. This boundary clarity between activities allows your nervous system to reset more effectively, improving recovery and emotional balance. You may also notice that your reactions to uncertainty soften. Instead of needing immediate answers or reassurance, you tolerate not knowing with more ease. This does not mean passivity. It means trust in your ability to navigate when clarity emerges. This patience reduces anxiety and prevents impulsive decisions driven by discomfort. As internal stability increases, your sense of self-respect often becomes more visible in everyday behavior. You treat your space with more care. You honor your time more intentionally. You choose activities that nourish rather than deplete. These choices may feel small, but they reflect a deeper alignment between values and behavior. Another shift may appear in how you relate to technology and stimulation inside your home. You become more conscious of how screens, noise, and constant input affect your nervous system. You naturally limit what overwhelms you and choose what supports calm and focus. This regulation protects mental clarity and emotional balance. You may also experience a greater sense of emotional neutrality around everyday events. Minor inconveniences no longer carry the same emotional charge. You recover faster when something goes off plan. This emotional efficiency preserves energy and reduces cumulative stress. As clarity deepens, your thinking becomes more structured. You organize tasks more logically. You prioritize more effectively. You break larger challenges into manageable steps. This cognitive organization reduces overwhelm and increases confidence in your ability to handle complexity. Another quiet change is how you experience your body at rest. Muscles release more easily. Breathing becomes slower and deeper without effort. Your jaw, shoulders, and hands relax more often. These physiological shifts indicate that your system is learning safety at a deeper level. You may also notice that your imagination becomes more constructive rather than anxious. Instead of replaying worries or hypothetical problems, your mind explores ideas, solutions, or creative possibilities. This shift frees mental energy and increases adaptability. Your sense of ownership over your inner world strengthens. You recognize that you can influence your emotional tone through choices about environment, rhythm, attention, and habits. This agency builds confidence without creating pressure. Another development is improved self-trust. You begin relying more on your lived experience rather than constant external validation. You notice patterns sooner. You correct course earlier. This self-trust stabilizes decision-making and reduces hesitation. You may also experience a greater appreciation for simplicity. You prefer fewer commitments, fewer distractions, and clearer priorities. This simplification creates spaciousness mentally and emotionally. Less noise allows deeper focus and satisfaction. As presence becomes more natural, gratitude often becomes quieter but more consistent. You notice ordinary comforts without needing them to be dramatic. This grounded gratitude stabilizes mood and reinforces safety. Another shift is how you handle emotional information. You allow feelings to move through you without suppressing or amplifying them. You acknowledge emotions without letting them dictate behavior. This balance strengthens resilience and clarity. You may also notice that your sense of identity becomes less rigid. You allow yourself to evolve without clinging to old narratives about who you are or how you should function. This flexibility supports growth and prevents stagnation. Your tolerance for internal clutter decreases. You resolve unfinished tasks more readily. You clear mental loops sooner. This closure reduces background stress and improves focus. Another meaningful change is improved quality of rest. Even if sleep duration remains the same, rest feels deeper and more restorative. You wake feeling slightly more grounded and clear. This recovery compounds over time. You may also find yourself more willing to engage in gentle reflection rather than constant distraction. You review your day calmly. You notice patterns without judgment. Reflection strengthens learning and integration. As internal coherence strengthens, your home environment continues to feel more like a supportive base rather than a place of escape. You replenish there rather than merely collapse. This changes how you enter the outside world each day. Another subtle development is how you respond to emotional triggers. Triggers still appear, but they lose intensity and duration. You recognize them sooner and recover faster. This regulation preserves emotional energy. You may also notice that your posture and movement become more relaxed and confident. You occupy space more comfortably. This physical confidence feeds emotional stability. As your internal world organizes, your sense of agency continues to strengthen. You feel capable of influencing your routines, habits, and environment constructively. This capability reduces helplessness and increases motivation. Another sign of maturation is how you hold responsibility without pressure. You take care of what matters without over-identifying with outcomes. This balanced responsibility prevents burnout. You may also become more comfortable being alone with yourself without needing constant stimulation. Solitude becomes restorative rather than uncomfortable. This is a strong indicator of internal safety. As these layers integrate, you may realize that what initially felt like something major happening has become a steady internal transformation rather than a single moment. The impact is cumulative, shaping how you live rather than how you interpret events. You are learning to live from coherence instead of reaction, from presence instead of pressure, from regulation instead of survival mode. These shifts are quiet, but they reorganize everything they touch. As this third part settles, understand that the most meaningful changes often stabilize silently. They reshape how your nervous system, attention, and behavior work together in ordinary moments. From this steady foundation, clarity, resilience, and sustainable growth continue to unfold naturally. As this steady internal organization continues, another layer of change begins to appear in how you relate to meaning, responsibility, and choice inside your everyday life. You are no longer searching for dramatic confirmation that something important is happening. You begin trusting the quiet evidence that shows up in how you think, how you regulate emotion, and how you recover from stress. This trust reduces the need for constant reassurance and strengthens confidence in your own lived experience. You may notice that your sense of responsibility becomes calmer and more balanced. You take ownership of what is yours to manage without turning everything into pressure. You understand that responsibility is not about carrying weight endlessly, but about responding intelligently and sustainably. This perspective reduces emotional overload and improves follow-through. Another subtle development is how you relate to mistakes or imperfections at home. Instead of frustration or self-criticism, you move into adjustment and learning more easily. You correct without collapsing emotionally. This compassionate accountability keeps momentum steady and prevents small issues from becoming large sources of stress. You may also find that your boundaries inside your personal space strengthen naturally. You protect your rest, your focus, and your emotional tone more intentionally. You become selective about what you allow into your environment: conversations, media, noise, or obligations. This selectivity is not avoidance. It is care for your nervous system and clarity. Your relationship with control continues to soften. You stop trying to manage every detail of your environment perfectly. You trust your systems, routines, and adaptability more. This flexibility reduces tension and allows life to feel more fluid without losing structure. Another important shift is how you experience motivation. Motivation becomes quieter and steadier rather than emotional or urgent. You move because something aligns, not because you feel pressured. This steadiness supports sustainable habits and reduces burnout. You may also notice that your attention becomes more refined. You spend less time distracted or scattered. You complete tasks with more presence. Even small actions feel more grounded. This focus conserves energy and improves satisfaction. As emotional regulation strengthens, relationships inside the home often benefit as well. Communication becomes clearer. You listen more fully. You react less defensively. This improves trust and emotional safety in shared spaces. You may also experience a deeper sense of self-respect in how you treat your body and your time. You sleep when you need to. You eat more attentively. You create routines that support stability rather than chaos. These behaviors reinforce internal safety. Another subtle change is how you respond to silence and downtime. You no longer feel compelled to fill every quiet moment with stimulation. Stillness becomes restorative rather than uncomfortable. This ability to rest without distraction supports nervous system health. You may also notice that your sense of gratitude becomes more grounded and less performative. You appreciate ordinary comfort, order, and calm without exaggeration. This balanced gratitude stabilizes mood and reinforces a sense of sufficiency. As clarity deepens, you may naturally simplify certain areas of your life. You reduce unnecessary commitments, clutter, and distractions. Simplification reduces cognitive load and creates space for what truly supports well-being. Another shift is improved emotional honesty with yourself. You acknowledge when you are tired, overwhelmed, or need support instead of pushing through automatically. This self-awareness prevents depletion and supports resilience. You may also experience improved tolerance for uncertainty. Not everything needs to be resolved immediately. You allow situations to unfold without forcing outcomes. This patience reduces anxiety and improves judgment. Your sense of agency continues to strengthen. You recognize where small changes create meaningful impact. You adjust routines, environments, and habits with confidence. This empowerment increases consistency. Another quiet development is how you experience time inside your home. Time feels less rushed and more spacious. Even when busy, your pacing becomes more regulated. This supports better emotional balance. You may also notice that your internal dialogue becomes more neutral and constructive. Extremes of self-judgment soften. Catastrophic thinking decreases. You speak to yourself with realism rather than pressure. As your nervous system stabilizes, creativity may continue to emerge naturally during ordinary moments, while organizing, resting, or reflecting. Insight flows when the system feels safe and unpressured. You may also find that you become more comfortable with gradual progress, rather than expecting immediate transformation. You trust compounding change. This patience protects motivation and prevents disappointment. Another shift is increased respect for rhythm, when to act, when to pause, when to restore. You cooperate with your energy rather than forcing constant output. This balance supports sustainability. From this awareness, effort becomes intelligent rather than exhausting.